Hello, everyone. Ron Slusser here with Routes for Sale. Thanks for tuning in. I just want to give you a quick update with regard to FedEx routes. Before I go into that, let me give you the legal disclaimer. Routes for Sale is not affiliated with FedEx in any way. We have not received this information from FedEx. Rather, this is information we've gathered through contacts, investors, and sellers that we deal with on a regular basis. So take this in stride, but we believe most of it to be accurate. If you decide to purchase, please confirm the accuracy of this with the terminal management when you interview. So with that said, let's kind of dive right into it. For those of you who don't know or are a little bit confused, currently in 2016, FedEx has two business models they operate under nationwide. One would be the PSAs, which would be each route is contracted separately. It has its own identification number in terms of a route number called the PSA number. And there's also supplemental or part-time routes that are not quite qualified for bonuses. They consider supplemental routes. Under the ISP model, those are more of a contracted territory. Those contracts are negotiated individually with FedEx in terms of bonus payouts, mileage, package delivery payments, and things like that. Under the new ISP model, keep in mind it was previously 3 routes or more. Now they have announced in 2016 that that is going to increase nationwide to 5 routes or more, or 500 stops. By example, I tell people to kind of focus on the 500 stops per day when you're purchasing to make sure it's going to meet those ISP requirements. And to give you an example, so if you have a route currently under the PSA or old model and it's 3 routes plus 2 supplementals, even though you don't have 5 full-time routes, but the stops are exceeding 500 stops on average per day, that would more or less qualify for the new ISP requirement. So if you're looking at single routes, just keep that in mind right now. There are a lot of single route owners out there trying to sell. Routes for Sale personally is encouraging these guys to team up with other contractors and sell together so that when the new buyers come in, that those requirements are met for the future ISP. This transition is going to start taking place. It already has started taking place, and it's already been converted in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Delaware, states like that. It's transitioning to other states like Florida, the Southeast, North Carolina. Those are going to be done in the late 2017, 2018 timeframe. Again, by 2020, FedEx wants to have this completed. What that means to you as a buyer, realistically, coming in the future, you're not going to be able to get into a FedEx route for less than $500,000. So FedEx has kind of transitioned into the marketing towards the investors. With that said, FedEx doesn't care about the monetary value of the routes, but they do care about the requirements. There are some exceptions to this rule, and there are some guidelines that I want to also point out. Number one, this 5 routes or 500 stops average per day is per terminal. So let's say, for example, you have a route in Raleigh, North Carolina. Let's say you have 3 routes there and you have 2 routes in Charlotte. That would not qualify for the new ISP requirements. You have to have 5 routes, 500 stops at each terminal. So you would have to have 5 in Raleigh and 5 in Charlotte. Now, there are some small exceptions to this rule. If you have home delivery and ground and you have the same terminal number, let's say, for example, in Charlotte, North Carolina, let's say hypothetically there were 2 terminals, one for home delivery, one for ground, and you had 3 routes on the home delivery side and 2 on the ground side. Technically, those combined would meet the ISP requirements as long as they both have the same terminal number. Now, I will note that it is up to the terminal management to make this decision. They can just as easily say, no, you have to have 5 at each. But I've talked to a lot of sellers, and in this situation, terminal management are letting that slide. So just keep that in mind going forward. That would be the only exception to the rule. So if you are buying a package and it's spread out over 2 or 3 terminals, be advised you will have to have 5 routes or 500 stops minimum at each terminal. Now, on the flip side of that coin, FedEx has what's called threshold or a term called scale. Either term, what that means is usually there's a percentage based on the terminal that they won't let one entity own. So that's protection for them. They don't want 1 to 3 contractors or business owners delivering all the package at one terminal. So to do that, they've typically placed that number at 10%. And they call that scale or threshold. They don't like contractors to go over that or own or deliver more than those packages. So if you want to purchase multiple packages at the same terminal, keep that in mind. They may not let you come in and buy one big, large entity if it's overscale if you're a new buyer. You may have to do that with 2 separate entities and 2 separate shareholders or owners for each entity. Some other things, big picture things that are worth mention right now. As of right now, just keep in mind these are rumors, but it looks like FedEx is kind of trending toward big picture of going away from the home delivery brand. Now, they're not going to stop delivering the homes. That's not what that means. They're just going to go away from the branding of the home delivery. And so what they're going to either do is either call it FedEx or FedEx Ground. Now, with that said, what their end game is, or their end goal is, to have all the home delivery and all the ground routes kind of mirror each other in the same zip code, so that they don't have one contractor doing home delivery and one contractor doing ground within the same territory. They want all those routes to eventually mirror each other. Again, this is the rumor from what we hear, and we have no doubt that that's their end game. It does make the most sense. Would I worry about that now if I was purchasing? No, absolutely not. I would still move forward, and I would still purchase. FedEx, as of today, is still showing double-digit growth. It's still a great New York Stock Exchange company. Again, double-digit growth. It's an incredible business model. I have heard that they are going to try to incentivize contractors to kind of start talking and kind of maybe swapping out some territories. But again, it would be advantageous for you to get in now, because it sounds like there will be some incentives to do that, which will be more profitable for you in the future. Some other things I want to mention and talk about a little bit are the line haul and P&D pickup and delivery routes. A lot of people don't know what those are. We do have a niche market of people that are just specifically looking for line haul. Line haul routes and P&D pickup and delivery routes are usually for Class A drivers, which means you usually have your CDL license, you can drive semis. So you can be an owner-operator of these businesses if you have your CDL license on the line haul side. If you don't, you just have to have drivers in place to cover those routes. You don't have to have those driving requirements if you do not intend to drive. And by the way, that is for the step vans, the FedEx Ground and home delivery as well. You do not have to have the driving or meet the driving requirements if you do not intend to drive. My suggestion is that you approach this as not a passive income if you plan on operating from a different state, but rather keep in mind that this is more of a semi-passive income opportunity. You still want to be involved. FedEx still wants you involved, but make sure if you're going to do that, you have a full-time manager in place. And what I mean by that is a driver for each route, and then a manager that does not drive, somebody who can jump in and drive if somebody calls in sick. It's going to save you a tremendous amount of headaches in the future, and you're going to stay in good standing with FedEx and their contracts. One other thing I want to mention about the line haul and pickup and delivery, there are some rumors out there, and contractors are being told already that the pickup and delivery contracts are going away in the future. And don't be afraid of that. Not a big deal. All the contractors I spoke with have been told that those are being converted to line haul. So there will no longer be a pickup and delivery, so to speak. It'll all be line haul eventually. Guys, don't be afraid of the ISP model. It's actually resulting in more money for most of the people I speak with. I haven't heard anybody going under the new ISP model and losing money. Most of them are increasing their incentive and bonus payouts. So if you purchase a business under the current old PSA model, more than likely, chances are you're probably going to end up ahead of the game. If you like what you're purchasing now, you're going to end up way ahead of the game once they convert the ISP model. Again, no guarantees. Take this stuff in stride, but this is the trend I'm seeing. Let's talk about qualifications needed to purchase. So if you're a buyer and you have decided to move forward with the contract, here's what you'll need to pass your interview with FedEx to be approved for the purchase. So keep in mind, you must form a corporation. It must be an INC. It can be structured as an S or C corporation, but they do not allow LLCs or partnerships, and that's just from a liability standpoint from them. So again, must be an INC structured as an S or C corporation. Again, you must submit to the criminal background check, which is usually the standard FBI check. So if you have any felonies, unfortunately, you won't be able to purchase. Also, drug testing, a standard drug test, you must pass that. As far as submitting a business plan, FedEx will require this as well at the interview. This is also known as an RFI. Nothing to be afraid of here. We actually have templates. Routes for Sale has templates we can provide you once we have an agreement in place with a deposit. We'll send those over for your review. You can model that along with the seller's business plan and kind of use that as a reference to kind of create yours before you walk in there. If there's anything they have questions about, they may question you at the interview, but for the most part, it's a rubber stamp process. And as long as your plan is solid, the more solid your plan is, the more confidence you're going to have in you. That pretty much sums it up. Again, guys, don't be afraid of the new ISP transition. It's only going to make these businesses more profitable in the future. So if you have any questions, feel free to email us or call us. Have a great day.